Hello, welcome to a short webinar around TrueSight Operations and why now is the time to move to TrueSight. My name is Ron Coleman, and I'm a Principal Product Manager for BMC Software focused on the TrueSight platform. I also have Tim Bicardo with me, a Senior Solution Architect, to help detail how BMC can help you make this move to TrueSight. So during this webinar, we're going to focus on three key areas. First of all, why move? The second area we're going to focus on is what are the key capabilities that TrueSight provides to help you have a reason to move. And finally, we're going to focus on how BMC is enabling customers to be successful in their journey to TrueSight. So first of all, why move to TrueSight Operations? When looking at monitoring as a whole, and if you look at the history of monitoring, it has evolved substantially from the early days of up-down detection. And if you follow the history of our solutions, you'll notice the same pattern. Back in the mid-90s, when Patrol was first introduced, monitoring was primarily about, is the server up? Is the server down? Is the database running? All in a very siloed manner. But from there, we moved away from the siloed view and decided to try to consolidate events of not only BMC tools, but other third-party tools to provide that single pane of glass for all events. This led to being able to take those events, understand how they impacted CIs in the service model and the upstream of a service. So then we could actually see this service is impacted by this particular device. However, even at this level, there was still a separation of monitoring and event management. This separation led us to the next era of consolidation in the late 2000s. This was with BPPM. BPPM provided an integrated view of monitoring, event management, as well as impact management. And this was also when we first started introducing machine learning in the form of dynamic baseline. Now, in the current environment, we're entering the age of an application-centric end-to-end performance monitoring solution that takes the use of analytics to the next level all around AIOps. This is what we call TrueSight. So let's drill down a bit into AIOps. AIOps stands for Artificial Intelligence for IT Operations. And essentially, AIOps refers to IT operations platforms that use artificial intelligence to make IT operations smarter. It does this first by unifying data. This is a key strategy behind TrueSight, bringing all the data together, whether it's application data or infrastructure data. Then it leverages machine learning or advanced analytics to start detecting patterns across the data. Again, something that we started initially with BPPM, but now we're taking it to the next level. And then finally, it's all about using this data and the machine learning to measure impact and act on this information across an increasingly complex IT environment. Or in other words, perform the job of IT operations. So a key takeaway here is that AIOps is more than just machine learning or analytics. It is a complete IT operations platform. Now, if you look at BMC's approach to IT ops, it is a platform that leverages our rich base monitoring capabilities that we've always had. Our focus is on services, okay, and our ability to automate processes and remediation activities, all while leveraging analytics across the entire platform. To get a little more specific on the value, TrueSight Operations provides you access to an application-centric approach to IT operations driven by analytics. This allows you to increase uptime, minimize outages with analytics, while at the same time reducing costs of your infrastructure by leveraging a single consolidated solution. You can also standardize and automate your processes, leveraging best practices and new product innovation, and really at the end of the day, change the culture of IT to be much more business focused. Now let's dig into the key capabilities provided by TrueSight Operations. I've broken these capabilities down into 5 key areas: application-centric IT ops, machine learning and analytics, automation, cloud monitoring, and the platform itself. First, application-centric IT ops. Like I mentioned when describing the evolution of monitoring at the beginning, IT operations is no longer simply about up-down detection. IT operations exists to ensure the performance of applications used by the business. So with TrueSight Operations, you have application context. the ability to automatically discover applications and provide a single view of both application transaction information and detailed infrastructure information, not simply one or the other. We also provide end-user experience monitoring, including synthetic and real transactions. End-user experience provides that key performance indicator to allow you to understand if there's an actual impact to a location or even a single end user running an application. This in turn leads to a drill down all the way into the performance of the application code. This is usually a black box or a blind spot for IT operations. But with this capability, IT operations can further pinpoint whether an issue is caused by the application itself or the application code, or it's caused by the infrastructure. And lastly, we can take all this information up one level higher and understand the impact to the business by leveraging a service model within the CMDB. Infrastructure to application to service, all within one view. The second key area is around machine learning and analytics. Although this concept is fairly new in the market, BMC has been leveraging machine learning for many years and is now continuously expanding on the capabilities. Dynamic baselines are the fundamental starting point for machine learning. By understanding trends and learning behaviors of metrics over time on an hourly, daily, weekly, and even a seasonality basis, TrueSight Operations is able to understand whether a particular metric is abnormal or not, reducing the need for static thresholds. This in turn opens up more advanced analytic capabilities. For example, being able to predict when a metric is going to be out of range within the next 3 hours. Another example is leveraging this information to provide a probable cause analysis, looking across multiple metrics and devices to determine the most likely cause of an impacting event. The other area we invested heavily in is around log analytics. While the metric data will typically give you the ability to pinpoint the device and metric that is a problem, the root cause of why it's a problem is generally found in the log file. Log analytics provides the ability to collect, index, sort, analyze, and compare raw log data across your infrastructure. And finally, we have recently introduced TrueSight Intelligence. TrueSight Intelligence is a SaaS-based analytics solution that brings in operational information from TrueSight Operations Management, as well as business information, service ticket, social data, other information to perform advanced correlation activity. We have an out-of-the-box integration into TrueSight Intelligence. The third area is all around automation. To provide a true AIOps solution, automation is required. In TrueSight Operations, we provide the ability to automate administrative items like endpoint management, as well as orchestrate complex workflows for triage and remediation. From an endpoint perspective, we've introduced the concept of policy management to provide a centralized solution to ensure that correct monitoring is deployed on each endpoint. Additionally, we now provide the ability to keep the endpoints up to date with the most current monitoring libraries, as well as the most current agent. From an orchestration perspective, the ability to connect IT operations to the service desk through intelligent ticketing is a key automation capability. Instead of simply opening an incident for every event, we provide the ability to open up intelligent incidents that can be prioritized and routed automatically based off of business relevance. And lastly, complex orchestration can be accomplished with an out-of-the-box integration to BMC Atrium Orchestrator. Do simple activities such as restart a service, or complex activities such as provisioning additional capacity, all automatically. The fourth key area is all around cloud monitoring. While this is not necessarily capability only associated with TrueSight, the need for it has greatly increased over the past several years, so it's worth putting an additional focus. With TrueSight Operations, we're thinking in terms of multi-cloud performance management. This essentially means that IT is not just using a single cloud provider or a private cloud or only on-premise hardware, but all of the above. We now have deep metric collection capabilities from AWS to Azure to private cloud deployments such as OpenStack, VMware, Red Hat Enterprise Virtualization, all of this consolidated with the same traditional views of on-premise offerings and with the same analytics capability I described earlier, dynamic baselines, probable cause analysis, and log analytics. Again, all within a single solution. The fifth and final area is around the TrueSight Operations platform. A lot of the platform items were sprinkled into the previous points, but it's important to understand that the new platform itself is a key reason to move from the legacy solutions. The biggest change is all around the user experience. We now have the capability to create role-specific dashboards, not by the administrator, but by the user themselves. Create a view as a DBA, or a view as a Windows administrator, or a view as an application owner, quickly and easily with out-of-the-box dashlets. This also includes TrueOps, the new mobile app for TrueSight Operations. Give your application and service owners an easy way to see the health of their application or services, all from their end-user device, their iOS device, or their Android device. We've also integrated other consoles, such as TrueSight Capacity Optimization, Intuitive Network Monitoring, all to provide a single view and a single launching place for IT operations to access all the data they need to make their good decisions. And the last area around the platform is industrialization. Simply put, TrueSight Operations is designed for the largest, most secure enterprises in the world. As such, we offer a highly available architecture, secure communication channels with TLS 1.2, secure authentication mechanisms, and a multi-tenant environment that allows data segregation. All of this is with TrueSight Operations. So to summarize, TrueSight Operations, through these 5 key areas of capability, provides you an application-centric approach to ITOps driven by analytics, essentially enabling your own AIOps platform. This is why now is the time to move to TrueSight. With that, I'm going to turn over the presentation to Tim to discuss how BMC is enabling our customers to successfully make the transition to TrueSight Operations.
Thank you, Ron. Now that we all understand why to go to TrueSight, I'm going to talk a little bit more about how to go to TrueSight. And by using BMC to help you get there, there's lots of benefits. You can leverage the experience from hundreds of implementations that we've done, all sorts of things. We've sort of seen one of everything at least. And that allows us to develop best practices, right, for upgrading systems, for architecting systems and that sort of thing, both with the engineering team, with the services team. And that allows us to tailor the approach that fits you. So everybody's heard the old adage, plan the work and then work the plan, right? And that's exactly what I'm talking about here. So, but that plan can follow an orderly progression. So, I like to start with planning the hardware and the infrastructure first. Make sure that you've got the whether it's hardware or VM platform that is adequate to your needs without over allocating, and whether that's an upgrade of an existing system or a migration to new hardware. It's a decision you'll need to make also. So once you have that hardware in mind, then we can start talking about planning the integration of planning the upgrades of your event integrations or the migrations, then planning the agents and the KM upgrades and migrations, and not to be forgotten is the risk mitigation. So there's a lot of changes going from, depending on what platform you're going from, whether it's Patrol or BPPM or just an earlier version of TrueSight, there's lots of considerations about things that might have changed or things that might not fit anymore, or even things that just work better, right, with the new solution. So we like to identify all of those risks and possible roadblocks, and then map out a plan to mitigate them. Once we get that plan, now we can actually go execute that hardware, right? So we install the platform, we get the base product laid down, and then start bringing the event integrations over. We actually have a phased approach that we've used at many sites where we bring the event integrations over, and now the customer is on the new platform. They're on the new GUI, and you get to take advantage of a lot of the new features while saving the upgrades of the agents and the monitoring policies for a later phase. And so that's pretty common that we do the events first, and then we do the monitoring, which would be the agents and the KMs. Of course, we validate it at each step of the way. And now, once that you've upgraded or migrated to your new TrueSight solution, now you can start taking advantage of new features that may not have been available before, or even new pieces of the product. So how do we approach that? We start with an analysis of the platform that you're on today, the current health, how you're using it, whether the platform is sufficient to handle future growth, whether the performance is up to par, etc. And looking over your configurations, of course. Then we look at the products that are there, both the TrueSight components and the things that are integrated into TrueSight, like event feeds, CMDB integrations, auto ticketing, that sort of thing. Make sure that all of the products are integrated correctly, and the workflows that handle those events and integrations are good. We also look then at the operation itself, right? How you are performing the tasks, how you are managing the system, and what pains you're currently experiencing in operations, right? And also looking at your maturity level and what business requirements you may have. Finally, we gather those requirements together and document them in a form that's easy to consume, and also a presentation that can be given to upper management to go over all of the findings and the recommendations. So we actually have an offering called the TrueSight Upgrade Planning Workshop, where we go in for typically a week, gather the information, assess the environment, understand. We also go over with you what's new in the product and what's changed, so that your staff understands what it is we're doing and what it is we're trying to go to. We assess your current capabilities and your processes, as well as the product itself, of course, and the implementation, and talk about best practices. And then we follow that up with some outputs, including a high-level roadmap that shows you how to perform the upgrade, and recommendations for things to do after the upgrade. Prioritized action plan, showing the activities, the resources, and the upgrade phases. We give you an architecture overview that shows how all the pieces fit together and how the data flows, and port maps and all sorts of things like that. Foundational guidance on the risk that we were talking about earlier, all of the potential roadblocks and what we can do to mitigate those risks. And finally, a summary overview and the executive presentation. We have another offering called Amigo. This is a free service that we offer to customers. It's a little bit less comprehensive than the one I was just talking about. What this includes is a question and answer session with customer support, review of your upgrade plan, and of course comments and recommendations, a checklist for the upgrade, tips and tricks for the upgrade based on previous upgrade that we've helped with, and then a follow-up session with customer support to know how it went and how the recommendations worked out. The way that you would get this service is easy. You just open a support ticket and say, I want Amigo. This is what I call a maturity map that shows sort of the levels of maturity in operations management. It kind of follows the product progression that Ron was talking about earlier, in that you're doing all of this anyway, whether or not you're using tools, right? You've got to detect problems, you've got to diagnose the problems, and then you got to repair them, right? And hopefully you get to the point where you can avoid them. So how do we do this is through detection is monitoring. There's two sorts of monitoring that we like to talk about: infrastructure monitoring and application monitoring, right? Once you have that monitoring data, you set your thresholds, you get alerts when when thresholds are breached or when problems are experienced, and then you have a bunch of events. So you have to do something with those events, and that's where we get into the event management phase. That's where you consolidate events into a single console. We like to normalize the events, so you have like standard severities, standard host names and things like that. Filter out the things that are less important. Blackout events, for example, for change windows, that sort of thing. And then now that we have that data, then we can do root cause analysis, right? And rather than the traditional war room approach, now that you have TrueSight products, you can do things like log analytics and probable cause analysis that Ron was talking about earlier, and that sort of thing. So now that we've gotten to that phase, we can push it one more phase, and that is to the automatic repair and avoidance of problems. Through service modeling, we can prioritize our response so that we know that we're working on problems that affect business services, rather than, for example, fixing the printer that's somewhere down in accounting that's not working. Also, service modeling actually helps in that root cause analysis phase too, because by knowing what the components of a service are, we can help diagnose what the problem might be. On the automation side, we can do automated ticketing into an incident ticketing system, and automated recovery, which is sort of the nirvana of this whole process. And that is, you can actually have a closed loop process where you detect the problem, diagnose it, automatically recover, open the ticket, and then close the ticket when the recovery is done. So that covers my portion of the presentation. I'd like to thank you for attending.